Okay, this video is on cell division, it's on mitosis, which is one of the two cell divisions that you need to know about. So this first one is mitosis, and I've spelt it out sort of phonetically here, underline the toe, so that you can remind yourselves that this is about body cells, because your toe is part of your body. This is a definition up here, so this would be an achieved. Okay, stating that it's a cell division used to produce two identical daughter cells for growth and repair of body cells. We'll come back to that word in a minute. Okay, so what does division mean? Well, if you divide a number, you're splitting it. So what's happening in mitosis is that the cells are splitting. To produce means to make. Okay, and it's making two identical daughter cells. Why they're identical? Because they contain the identical or the exact same genetic code. Okay? So identical, meaning that they're exactly the same. The only, so in each cell, in each body cell, okay, which is, remember this is about your body, each nucleus contains 46 chromosomes if you're a human being. Okay? That 46 chromosomes, if you put the DNA, is about 2 meters in length and contains about 3 billion bases. The reason why they're identical, because if mitosis is done properly, each cell will have exactly the same letters, the same bases. So the 3 billion bases, A, T, G, C, will be exactly the same if you were to compare cells. So if you were to take a cell out of my hair and then one out of my skin and look at the order, the sequence of bases, they'd be exactly the same. There'd be no differences whatsoever. Daughter, so this daughter cell, so let's just go back a step. Cell division used to produce just two identical daughter cells. This idea of daughter cells is just literally you're going from a parental cell, so the cell that you're starting off with, they call it a parental cell, and when it then eventually splits and divides to produce two identical cells, these cells are called daughter cells. These two cells here are identical to the parent cell and to each other. So if we were to look at the DNA contained within the parental cell, it would be identical to the DNA within the daughter cells here. What's it used for? Well, it's used for growth. So let's tackle that first. So with growth, it obviously means to get bigger. And how do you go from the first cell, which is a zygote, to, well, a little baby. That's my little baby. It's happy. How do I go from a zygote, a single cell, which is, you know, to be able to see it, you'd need a microscope, so not visible to the naked eye. How do you go from something so incredibly small to something that you could hold in your hands, like a baby when it's born? And all this is within 9 months. Not 9 months, that'd be slightly weird, but in 9 months. So you start off with one cell, a zygote. This here can be a zygote. It copies its DNA exactly. It then splits into two identical daughter cells. So you go from one cell to 2 cells. Those 2 cells then divide and they give us 4 cells. The 4 cells then divide to give us 8 cells. All 8 cells are identical. They're identical because they've got exactly the same genetic code. 8 then becomes 16, 32, 64, 128, 256. Okay? And they keep going and going and going until you get not just to a baby, that's billions of cells, but to an adult. This is my adult. He's obviously bigger. Not so happy. Okay? So how do you go from this to that? Well, it's just growth by taking one cell and dividing it into 2, 4, 6, 8. Hopefully you get the idea. Alright? When you hit adult, like I am, mitosis isn't so much for growth, but more of repair probably now. So I'm not actually growing. If I was to start to do more exercise where my muscles needed to grow, then mitosis would probably be for growth as well as repair. But right now, pretty much the only things that are growing on me is my fingernails, hair, and everything else is pretty much repair, repair, repair. Okay? And when I get to a really old adult, I don't repair as much, and in fact I go backwards, but you don't need to worry about that until level 2, so we won't cover that. So, growth going from a zygote to an adult. Repair. So anytime that you cut yourself, anytime that you graze, nick, whatever, what repairs that is mitosis. And the reason why it's mitosis is that you want to repair yourself with identical cells. How are they identical? Because the nucleus contains exactly the same genetic code. Okay? So they're exactly the same set of instructions on how to make you look like you are. In other words, the exact same genes that tell your body to make proteins, and those proteins got to be the same to repair you. Okay? So you need to produce the exact same proteins. So you have to have exactly the same genetic code in your new cells. Okay? And body cells. Well, the reason why it's in your body, okay, is there are 2 types of cells. One is your body cells, and the fancy name for body cells is something called a somatic cell. Okay, and somatic is a fancy word that means body cells. The other type of cell that you need to know about has its own cell division, and it is sec cells. So the sec cells being your sperm for males, or pollen in plants, and your ova or eggs in plants, in female plants, and in some plants, and in females as well. Okay, so you'll get that in the next video about sex cells. Okay.